Picture the single most valuable thing you will ever own, a Picasso. $100 million hanging on your wall. You did nothing to earn it today. You just woke up next to it. But nobody puts this part on the postcard. That painting does not sit there quietly. It bills you. Every single day it exists. It pulls money out of your account, and it does this before it appreciates 1 cent, before you sell a single share of it, just ensuring it runs around $410,000 a year. And believe it or not, insurance is one of the smaller lines on the invoice. So let's actually add it up. What does it really cost to own a masterpiece, year after year, just to keep it on the wall? And why do the richest collectors on Earth end up hiding theirs in a locked room in Switzerland they almost never walk into? Start with the price, because even the price is a trick. When you win a painting at auction, the hammer price is not the number you pay. On top of it sits the buyer's premium, the auction house's cut. As of 2026, both Sotheby's and Christie's charge around 15% on the portion above $8 million. On a $100 million hammer, that premium alone runs into the millions. Your $100 million Picasso quietly became a $115 million Picasso the moment the gavel dropped. In November 2023, Picasso's Femme à la montre sold at Sotheby's in New York for $139.4 million. That made it the second most expensive Picasso ever sold at auction, behind Les Femmes d'Alger, which went for $179.3 million back in 2015. Paintings really do trade at these prices. Real buyers really do write these checks. All right, you own it. The meter starts now. The first recurring cost is the one from the title: insurance. Fine art policies usually run somewhere between 0.1% and 2% of the artwork's value every year. Where you land depends on how you store it, how well it's guarded, where in the world it lives, and how often it travels. Take a 9-figure painting and apply even a fraction of a percent, and you are already paying hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to protect a thing that is doing absolutely nothing but existing. Our $410,000 figure is what a well-secured, high-value policy looks like near the top of that range. But there is a catch. The insurer does not just hand you that policy. To write it at all, they demand conditions: a specific security grade, a specific climate, alarm systems, access control, sometimes physical guards. Meeting those demands is not free either, so the premium is not the whole cost of insurance. It's the cost of being allowed to buy insurance, which brings us to where the painting actually has to live. A masterpiece is a chemical object that is slowly falling apart, and your job as owner is to slow that down. Museums keep their galleries at roughly 19 to 24 degrees Celsius, with relative humidity somewhere around 45 to 65% held steady, not for comfort, because swings in temperature and moisture make canvas expand and contract, and paint begins to crack and lift. Your lounge room cannot guarantee that. Central heating and a humid summer will quietly destroy value. So collectors at this level build a dedicated, climate-controlled space, essentially a small private gallery engineered to museum specification. That is construction cost, then a running power and maintenance cost forever. And then there's light. Ultraviolet and even ordinary daylight fade pigment over time, so serious owners ration exposure. Dim the room, limit the hours, sometimes pull the piece off display entirely. The most valuable version of your painting, the one that holds its price, is often the one nobody actually gets to look at. So it's expensive to keep alive. Now let's talk about keeping it yours. Because a painting worth this much is a target. And this is not paranoia. It has happened repeatedly to Picassos specifically. In 2007, thieves walked into the Paris flat of Picasso's own granddaughter and left with 2 paintings worth about $69 million. That same year, portrait of Suzanne Bloch, valued at over $50 million, was taken straight off the wall of a Sao Paulo museum. Another Picasso, La Coiffeuse, worth around $15 million, vanished from storage, and later turned up being smuggled through the post, its shipping label declaring it a $37 gift. Security at this level is not a home alarm. It is monitored systems, reinforced access, and for some owners, guards protecting a single object around the clock. More cost every year, sitting on top of everything else. And it is a big reason so many of these paintings never hang anywhere at all. They go straight into a vault. If this is already reshaping how you see the ultra-wealthy, subscribe. We take apart one luxury asset like this every week: jets, yachts, islands, and the real numbers behind them. Now back to that vault, because it moves us to the next hidden cost: getting the painting anywhere. You do not put a $100 million canvas in the back of a van. Moving a masterpiece is a full logistics operation. A custom-built crate designed for that exact frame, a climate-controlled vehicle so the piece never leaves its safe temperature band, specialist art handlers who do nothing but this, a security escort, and separate transit insurance for the few hours it is exposed on the road or in the air. Now remember, prestige has a price. Every time a museum borrows your painting for a landmark exhibition, and that loan is what earns your collection its reputation, this entire moving circus runs again. Crate it, guard it, insure the journey, ship it, reverse it all months later. The favor of being shown in public is one you pay for. On top of movement, there's upkeep. Conservators periodically inspect the surface under raking light, check for lifting paint and hairline cracks, and carry out restoration when the years start to show. A masterpiece is less like a trophy on a shelf and more like a patient with a standing medical plan. The care never actually ends. And this is exactly why so many of the world's greatest paintings end up in the same strange place: a Freeport. The most famous is the Geneva Freeport, a high-security bonded warehouse where an enormous share of the world's finest art quietly sits in the dark. And this is where it gets clever. Goods inside a Freeport are legally treated as still in transit, as though they never fully entered the country. So the owner defers the import taxes. In Switzerland, that means putting off value-added tax of around 8%, plus any customs duty, for as long as the piece stays inside. Sell it to another collector while it's in the vault, and in many cases the transaction happens without triggering those local taxes at all. The painting stops being something you look at and becomes something closer to a currency. It changes hands in a locked room, never sees a wall, and avoids a tax bill in the process. On a 9-figure artwork, deferring that value-added tax saves millions of dollars, which is precisely why the vault exists. And the scale of this is genuinely hard to picture. The Geneva Freeport is estimated to hold around 1.2 million artworks, worth somewhere in the region of $100 billion. Reportedly, that includes something like 1,000 Picassos, alongside works by Da Vinci, Van Gogh, Klimt, and Warhol. For comparison, the Museum of Modern Art in New York holds roughly 200,000 pieces. So there is a warehouse in Switzerland, sitting behind customs, quietly holding a larger art collection than almost any museum on the planet. And the entire point of it is that nobody walks in to admire a single thing. There is one more cost, and it's the quietest and most dangerous of them all: proof. A painting this valuable is only worth that much while everyone agrees it is genuinely a Picasso, with a clean, documented history of ownership. Provenance. If an expert raises a credible doubt about the attribution, or a gap appears in the chain of ownership, the value can collapse almost overnight. So owning at this level means constant due diligence, documentation, cataloging, expert authentication, and the standing risk that one respected opinion could wipe out a fortune. And a piece with contested provenance is harder to sell and more expensive to insure. So this quietly loops back and inflates that premium we started with. The clearest warning here is the most expensive painting ever sold. In 2017, Leonardo da Vinci's Salvator Mundi went for $450.3 million at Christie's in New York. It was heavily restored, its attribution openly questioned by serious scholars, and it still smashed every record in history. Then it did something stranger. It vanished. Since that night, it has barely been seen in public, and its exact location has been argued over for years. The single most valuable painting on Earth, and for long stretches, almost nobody could say for certain where it physically was. That is the paradox of owning at this level. The more a painting is worth, the more reasons appear to keep it hidden, restored, insured, and locked away from the very people who would want to see it. So let's finally total it up. Insurance. In the hundreds of thousands, our example landing near $410,000. A purpose-built, climate-controlled room to keep it in, running costs included. Round-the-clock security on a single object. Specialist transport every time it moves. Ongoing conservation to slow the decay. Documentation and authentication to defend the value. Stack those together, and the honest carrying cost of a $100 million Picasso runs comfortably into 6 figures a year, every year. And that is before the painting has appreciated a cent, and before you have sold anything. Which leads to the reveal this whole thing has been building toward. The Picasso does not make you rich. Owning it is a bill. The actual flex, the real signal of wealth, is being rich enough to feed a painting hundreds of thousands of dollars a year and keep it locked in a vault where not a single person will ever see it. The most expensive thing about a $100 million masterpiece is that it never, ever finishes costing you. If your idea of luxury just changed, wait until you see the numbers on a private jet, because the running cost on one of those will genuinely surprise you. That video is on screen now. Go and watch it. And if you made it this far, do me a favor and hit like. It really does help these breakdowns reach more people. See you in the next one.